Chapter 27. People. Sky entered the house to the sizzle and aroma of bacon and eggs. At the stove, Wade took the time to throw her a hearty smile even as he flipped and turned. "Hey, sorry. I get a little snarly in the morning, but I've had my coffee now, so it's all safe." He held up his large mug as he glanced over at Dylan. Wade sipped his coffee and asked Sky, "Ya hungry?" "Starving," Sky said, grateful for Wade's apology and the not-so-subtle warning that there could be a repeat of this behavior. Jessie came over and stood by her. "I'm helping make breakfast." Wade said, "I broke all the eggs perfect." Happy that Wade could at least be nice to a child, she smiled at Jessie. "That's great. I'll enjoy them even more then." The four of them sat for breakfast with any conversation at a minimum, and the guys shoveled the food in like it was the last they would receive. Sky took her time enjoying her food. The clanking and slight squeaks of forks against plates were morning music reminiscent of breakfasts growing up. A big day lay ahead of her, and this bit of peace was just what she needed, reminding her of why she was taking the risk to get to Ohio. As everyone slowed and sat back in their seats, Sky pieced out her day. "I wondered when you planned on taking me back to my car," she asked Dylan. Dylan's gaze went from her to the table. "Whenever you'd like. I was thinking about giving Tom and my parents a call before leaving if I can get a signal." Dylan nodded. "Good idea. Where are we going?" Jessie asked, reminding her that the boy had been asleep during any discussion of the trip. "Oh, Jessie. I'm sorry. I thought it would be best to go to my parents in Ohio, at least for a while." Jessie crinkled his nose. "Ohio? It's nice there, and my parents are crazy nice too. They love kids hanging around, and I have a niece just a little younger than you. We should leave this area for a while. Would that be okay?" "I guess," he said, doubt coloring his voice. "I thought we'd live at your house. Or we'd live here." "Well," Sky cleared her throat and ignored the second part of his statement. "Infected came to town and chased me out of my house." Dylan's sharp eyes zeroed in on her, but he said nothing. "That sucks," Jessie said. "Yeah." Sky's response may have been short, but it was heartfelt. She missed her home already. "Ohio," Jessie said with a downward twist of his mouth. He shrugged. "Okay then." Sky nodded. "Okay then." Sky offered to clean up the kitchen, and the men took off outdoors to hunt, or trap, or something. She wasn't sure what since they had mumbled their plans, but imagined that was what mountain men did. After finishing her work, Sky stepped outside again, this time to call Trisha and Tom. Without a doubt, they were probably crazy with worry after the message she had left them. And it had been a few days since Sky had talked to her parents. She wanted to see how they were doing and tell them she was on her way. As Sky stepped off the small cabin porch, the sunlight hit her eyes. She squinted and turned her head to the side, then sought shade and rounded the house to find it. Here she could see the screen to dial on her cell phone. Sky checked for a signal, relieved to see she had a few bars, but her satisfaction didn't last long. Her stomach churned as she imagined all the bad news they could tell her. Were her parents still safe? Not only from the AG flu but also from any chaos going on around them? And what about Tom and Trisha? Had they hid from the horde that had made its way through Colton? Her fingers paused mid-dial, and she drew in a deep breath before continuing. Tom would be first, it would be the easiest call. She hoped. Sky pressed her lips together, her nerves stretching further with each chime of the phone. On the third ring, her cousin-in-law picked up. "Sky?" Trisha asked, her voice almost a squeak. "Yeah, it's me." Sky stammered over the words. "Oh my lord, I'm so glad to hear from you. I've been so worried." Trisha said, relief pouring through every word. It was a bad connection, and no matter how high Sky set the volume, she had a hard time hearing Trisha. She hit the speaker button in the hopes it would be of help. I'm worried the call will drop Trisha, so I'll hurry through my news. Jesse is with me. I had a bit of car trouble on my way, but I ran into Wade and Dylan Cole. Do you know them? They helped me get Jesse, and I'm with them now. We're safe at their cabin. The phone changed hands, and Tom came on the line. You're with Wade and Dylan? I'm not sure. Those boys are. There's been a few run-ins. He paused a moment. Sky's hand tightened on her cell. Please don't tell me they're bad people. She thought. Well, Tom added, those run-ins might just show they have the grit to deal with what's going on. They might be what you need right now. Neither of them conforms too well, but conforming isn't what's needed right now. They know the land, can hunt, and can do what needs doing if something comes up. Okay, but are they being respectful? Sky sputtered an embarrassed little laugh but rushed to assure him. Yes, they are. Wade likes to start arguments, but other than that, I have no complaints. Well, I'm surprised I'm saying this, but you're in good hands there. Just stay with them till things settle a bit. You'll be fine. Tom, I'm not staying here. I'm going to Dad's. Tom let out a long sigh. Sky, you aren't aware of how hard that will be. Sky's heart sank. How hard? Last I heard roads are clogged with traffic. Give me a couple of days to find out something. A couple of days? That long? She asked. If I find out anything sooner, I'll let you know. Sky put a finger to her lip as she weighed her options. It was better to know of what was happening along the roads than to just start out with no idea. Okay, 2 days then. If Dylan and Wade will have us. Unless you think I should come back there? I don't even want you driving the hour back here alone. He said. All right then. Here is where I'll stay. She changed the topic. How are things there? Doing okay. Trisha and I haven't been sick. Trisha's been sticking around the house. I got exhausted from the never-ending work, I couldn't even stand, so now I do 12 hours. Then no matter what, I head home. I can't help anyone if I don't get rest. Sorrow filled Tom's voice. It's crazy, Sky. No one is saving anything out there. Just trying to stem the flood is all and not doing too good a job at that. It will not end, not for a while I reckon. I'm sure you're doing your best. You always do. What about the town? Those infected were coming through when I left. Yeah. We ran them off before they got to our house. Most people hid from them, some took off and haven't been back. Those so-called assassins do their best to infect anyone they came across. Some have already come down with it. Sad, real sad. I'm glad you got out safe. Sky's heart weighted further. Some of those they had infected were most likely her friends. I'm glad I got out too. We all need to stay safe until this is over. Sky took time saying her goodbyes. Tom promised he would be in touch with her one way or another in 2 days. The scolding of an angry squirrel made Sky look toward the woods and smile. A twig snapped behind her. She startled, and her heart thumped against her ribcage. Sky swung around to find Dylan leaning up against the side of the cabin. She had the feeling he'd been there a while, and when he moved his foot to crack the twig again, he confirmed it. I thought you were hunting, Sky said. I got back. She chuckled. Excellent way to state the obvious. She bit her cheek as she remembered Tom's comments about Dylan and Wade. You heard? Mostly. Sky's gaze floated to the ground. Well, that's a little awkward, she thought. Dylan's tone was terse. You gonna ask? From his expression, comments like that were nothing new to him. Nope, Tom told me. When Sky hesitated, Dylan's eyes flicked from her face to the patchy grass and back again as he waited for her answer. He said this was the place to be, so that's good enough for me. Dylan gave her one of his sharp looks, then a little nod. That is if you can stand our invasion. I mean, I know. You're fine, he assured her. Here's where you need to be anyways. Okay. Sky frowned at the strange comment even as she embraced the welcome. Thanks. Thanks so much. Dylan shook his head, telling her to drop the subject. Sky's mind wandered back to the last part of her conversation with Tom. She picked at her fingernails. The behavior of humans often bewildered her, no matter how long she studied them. What is wrong with people, she asked. Why would the infected ones go after others like that, knowing they are causing others to die of the disease? Dylan shrugged a shoulder. They're angry and scared with nothing to lose. They can do whatever they want. There ain't anybody to stop them. No one wants to get close enough to them to try. It doesn't give them leeway to turn into animals. She said. There's always gonna be some who turn that way, he replied. You know that. We just gotta hope most don't. Sky tipped her head as she stared at Dylan. I go to school for how many years and still need a questionnaire and weeks to understand my clients. But him, he instinctively knows, has them all figured out. Like he did me. One of those deep stares, and he seems to know precisely what makes a person tick. Sounds like he should be the therapist. Sky let her gaze wander over the mountains to the direction of Colton. They won't. They can't. We have to live, to get things going again when this is all over. Dylan didn't comment, but when she glanced at him, he was staring at her. Sky looked at the ground. I'm going to call my parents now. Are you going to listen in on that one too? She flashed him a grin. He shrugged and looked out to the trees. Yep. You shouldn't be out here by yourself. Sky opened her mouth to argue, but a quick glance at the thick forest changed her mind. She didn't know what was in those woods. He did. If he said it wasn't safe, she would believe him.